Okay, so um, I've had a huge problem with my footage. Um, so I recorded the entirety of this video talking about the Return to Silent Hill, and it was only until afterwards that I realized that my camera was bricked, and none of the footage really recorded properly. Thankfully, all of the audio was salvageable, so I'm still going to try and make a video out of this, but I won't be making an appearance at all, which is probably why you're seeing just whatever gameplay I have lying around at the current moment, just to, keep the audience stimulated. But yeah, I'll try to get onto that issue as soon as possible. Thank you for waiting for the really long video. It just took forever to edit, and I'll catch you guys at the end of the video. All right, bye. Imagine, if you will, a Silent Hill fan, absolutely ecstatic to see the brand new movie that's coming. I mean, this is probably one of the most anticipated movies for this person. Silent Hill fans haven't had a good movie in a ridiculously long time, if at all. The first one was only serviceable, really, and the second one was so bad it literally shut down any possibility of another Silent Hill film happening. Silent Hill film, I did say that properly. Finally, after all this time, we're getting another one, and it's an adaptation of Silent Hill 2, probably the most critically acclaimed out of all of the games within the franchise. Many people's favorite, many people would cite as the best. And this Silent Hill fan sits down in the theater, smile on their face, friends around them, that they forced to come to this movie in anticipation. And then they fucking watched the movie and were extremely distraught afterwards. Hello everyone, my name is Quispy, and today I'm going to be talking about The Return to Silent Hill, which is a movie that exists. There's a lot to talk about, and obviously I'm going to get into a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, and you would like to see it for whatever reason, then obviously click off the video and go watch it. I don't even know where to begin. It is really, really bad. I mean, from start to finish, there is a numerity of changes made from the original source material, and obviously, maybe I said something in the intro that was kind of a lie. It is not an adaptation of Silent Hill 2. It is based off of Silent Hill 2, but I feel like even going in with that sort of perspective, it definitely is Silent Hill 2 if you squint and put bleach in your eyes and then watched a walkthrough of it rather than experiencing it yourself. There's going to be a lot of rambling in this video, mainly because I'm so like actually infuriated after watching it. It was just such a miserable experience throughout. Like, addressing, we'll get to the big elephant in the room, but there was a small pet peeve that I kind of knew was going to happen upon going in, and that was other characters addressing the existence of Pyramid Head. There was a scene in the trailer, or a line in the trailer, where we can hear Eddie address Pyramid Head, or to some degree say that you woke him up. And considering that Pyramid Head is never actually called Pyramid Head within the games, only referred to as him or it. I don't think it's even referred to as it. I think it's just him, or the red pyramid thing in the original. It's just a really, I obviously knew that was gonna be a whole thing, but look, it's a Silent Hill movie. They're gonna put Pyramid Head in it, and they're gonna try and make Pyramid Head scary and cool because he's the poster boy of Silent Hill. And I didn't really have a problem with that. I knew it going in, but there were so many other changes that made me just kind of go, what the fuck? So we'll just go from the beginning. So immediately, to me, James Sunderland is too cool of a person. Again, when these are really small things that will just add up and progressively get worse and worse and just create a landslide of problems that make it a very shit film. But look, when I saw James on screen for the first time in the movie, I immediately went, this is not James Sunderland. This is a cool dude, he's driving his Mustang, smoking weed, he's an artist. That's just not what James is. James is supposed to be ordinary. Silent Hill 2 is an examination of what happens to the normal people within the world of Silent Hill. Those not really are, that have no relation to the cult or the town at all. Huh. That image looks kind of familiar. Huh. James and Mary were never from Silent Hill. They just came here once. And the entire experience, I mean, the experience was meaningful to them. They spent presumably their honeymoon there. And then the town called James back. And James is just an ordinary person. And that means something within the context of this story. And I understand they probably changed it because they wanted to make James more of a likable character. And I get it. They wanted to make him a bit more interesting, and they give him some more cool dude qualities. Like, he drives a cool car, he has a cool job, he does cool things. And honestly, I'm not mad about him being an artist, because that can open up a lot of creative decisions, right? Like, you can do a lot of stuff oh my god. You can do a lot of stuff creatively by making James an artist. You can see how that affects the other world or the fog world. There's so much you can do with that. And there's like one scene that kinda almost gets it, but also commits a huge fucking cardinal sin, which within Silent Hill, that I just absolutely cannot take it seriously. But we'll come back to that. So, yes, James is too cool, but, you know, not the biggest problem in the world. They wanted to make him more likable, that's fine. But then Mary. Oh man, the changes they make to Mary. So, Mary is a part of a cult. You know, the Silent Hill cult. The cult that makes an appearances in, you know, a couple of the other games. But not Silent Hill 2. The Silent Hill 2 had no cult activity in it. Unless you want to take into account the one secret ending that you get from playing on New Game Plus and collecting all the stuff, which is very obviously not canon. As to get this ending, you need to play New Game Plus, which means it puts it on the same canonicity as the Shiba Inu ending and the UFO ending. So, dubious at best is what I'd say. But Mary having connections to not only the cult, but also coming from Silent Hill, again, changes the whole meaning of the story. That's not what this is supposed to be about. But again, you know, maybe they wanted to change that. Maybe they wanted to give it more meaning, because I guess it's really boring to just see normal people struggle through a supernatural town that isn't really explained within its story. You know, Silent Hill did it really good, but I understand Silent Hill 2 had like 8 hours of gameplay in the original and nearly 20 hours in the remake. So, you know, cutting it down to an hour and a half was gonna be difficult. There was gonna need to be changes. Then why did you add in cult stuff? Why did you add stuff when you were trying to cut down on a lot of the time? Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me at all. No. But, right, Mary from Silent Hill. Okay, what else can we talk about? Oh, we can just talk about like any of the other characters and how they've all been bastardized! I realized I blew up my mic there. That's... Oof, I've never done that before in a video. Right, so... We're going to address the elephant in the room. I think it's time we finally come around to it. We got to come around to it. Mary Angela Laura Crane is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I understand that, you know, Silent Hill 2 is a psychological horror. You want to put all things in, you know, all in the head, and he's crazy and shit. But did you have to make Laura and Angela not real too? It made it more horrifying that they were real. That these people were uncanny, but were very tangible. There was something off about them. Silent Hill was changing them, corrupting them maybe, or maybe they were always like this. You don't know. And that's what good psychological horror is. You just don't know. This movie treats you like you're a fucking moron, and I hate it. It explains everything. And even the changes that it makes, it has to explain that to you too. There's no nuance at all, which Silent Hill 2 was full of, and was what made it really good. Look, I don't really know. Like, Angela is obviously supposed to represent the abuse that Mary suffered within her time with her dad and the cult and stuff. And since they didn't want to redo that plotline, they made Angela Mary. Sure, fine. I can understand not wanting to repeat two plot lines, although if one of them didn't exist, like, I don't know, the cult one that, didn't exist anyway. But, like, if you want to have that, sure, fine. You can get rid of Angela. You can make Angela not real. Why is Laura not real? I feel like Laura is one of the, main... If you want to make a Silent Hill 2 movie, and you don't want to make... And you gotta cut corners. You have an hour and a half of runtime. You gotta cut some shit out, right? What needs to stay is James, Mary, Maria, and Laura. Eddie and obviously Angela are very important characters for the story. But if you gotta just get the core story into a film, I think they gotta go. Making Laura not real changes fucking everything, right? And just... I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe, because it's hard to explain without just going to a full deep dive of Silent Hill 2. Which, if you want that, I can do that. I wouldn't be mad about it. What? My small niche commentary YouTuber is a fan of Silent Hill 2? Yeah, who saw that coming? We'll move on. Right? We all agree Mary Angela Laura Crane is stupid. It's the bit from SpongeBob. It's he's Squidward, you're Squidward, I'm Squidward. Are there any more Squidwards I need to know about? Because every character is Mary. Maria is Mary, but that's obvious. That's one that's meant to be a parallel. Laura is Mary. Angela is Mary. Next, James is Mary. Eddie is Mary. Fucking everybody's Mary. Pyramid Head is Mary. There's a weird spider monster. That was Mary, but that was obviously meant to be Mary. Again, when it does things that kind of make sense, it's fine. But actually, you know what? I brought up Eddie. I actually just been reminded about the Absolute. Oh my god. Eddie, what did they do to you? Oh, Eddie, how they ruined you. Look... Eddie literally makes a cameo in this movie. I'm not even joking. He does nothing of significance whatsoever. He shows up and says, "My name's Eddie," beats the shit out of James, and then never makes another appearance. Thankfully, I was watching this movie with some friends, so it was at least somewhat enjoyable, and one of them made a very interesting theory, that what if Eddie is a version of James that's further down his depressive spiral, and from the version of Eddie that we get in this movie, that makes sense. I think I just got I got a Discord ping. Sorry. The version of Eddie we got in that movie, I guess, can make sense. Is it the Eddie we have from the game? No. But within the context of the story of Silent Hill 2, or the Return to Silent Hill, sorry, he makes sense to be there. I like that he still calls James Jimmy, Eddie. There's parallels there maybe. And it wasn't outright explained what Eddie was. One of the very few nuanced things that potentially led to further thought. Good job, movie. You fucking did it. While we're talking about the movie's good jobs, I actually do want to talk about something. The cinematography in this movie was actually really good. There were a lot of scenes that looked very visually interesting. I liked the look of the fog world, and although the whole ash thing is stupid because it's snow, it is snow. I'll see if I can find the tweet, but it is snow in the original game. But, it's cool, and it works for the aesthetics of this movie. This movie is really fun to look at. I will give it that. The monster design is, pretty one-to-one, but they kind of have some of this video gamey look, which, again, works in its favor. It's supposed to be an adaptation of a video game. I don't hate that. And I will also say, again, visually and also audioly, Mary's death, spoilers, Mary dies, or is dead. If you played the game, you know she's dead in the first 5 minutes, but again, this is a reveal the movie saves till nearly 3/4 of the way in, which is a whole other fucking thing. But the whole scene of James killing Mary within the movie is really good. Again, visually and audibly, contextually, it doesn't really have the same weight at all. mainly because James is basically directly asked by Mary to kill her, which is something that does happen in the game, but then she goes back and forth about this quite a lot, which makes it a much more nuanced, morally nuanced problem within the context of the game. But you know, who's keeping track, right? The movie just makes it really clear that it doesn't have an understanding of the kind of consistent gray area of Silent Hill's morals, or the Silent Hill 2 morals, especially when it comes to James and his actions. Like, is James a bad person? Yes. But do we understand why he did it? Also, yes. We don't really maybe we sympathize with him, maybe we empathize with him. We kind of understand where he was coming from, even though he came to the wrong conclusion. He's a very interesting character in that way, and the movie loses that. Sorry, I'm going off track. I'm going down the negative again, because again, it's really hard to compare this movie to arguably one of the greatest pieces of psychological horror to ever exist. Like, I had watched this movie with friends of mine, again, flexing that I have friends, and some of them were Silent Hill fans. They weren't as deep in as I was, but they at least had played one of the games, and then one of them had no experience with Silent Hill. So I was really getting a broad look of, you know, how this would be received by an audience. I had someone who basically had this as their introduction to Silent Hill, other than they knew who Pyramid Head was because of Dead by Daylight, but that's about it. They didn't know anything else. And then I had a sort of longtime fan in myself, and then a more casual fan. And we all walked out really dissatisfied. Like, man, we came out of that movie theater. It was pretty late at night. We dedicated our whole day to this, and we had essentially had it ruined by getting diddled in the alleyway by this fucking movie. God, I remember having a 2-hour rant after the movie. And I mean it. I stood outside my friend's house after I was dropped off, and just literally complained for 2 hours about the movie and how it missed just the mark by so much. The conclusion that I eventually came to was just play the game. My friend kept making these cool suggestions about the movie, like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool if, you know, what if they did this instead of that, or this or that instead of this? And nearly every time he did this, I would go, yeah, well, guess what they did in the game? They did that. They did the better story writing decision. And it's just a real shame. I'm mad about a lot of this movie, but I'm mad because I'm disappointed. Because this is a really... I don't know how to put it. But when I watched the FNAF movie... Again, we're bringing Five Nights at Freddy's into this video. Jesus Christ. Can't fucking escape it. But when I watched the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, it was still good. Was it FNAF? Was it a continuation of the story? Was it even a parallel to some of the things? Like, yes, there were parallels. But it wasn't meant to be an exact adaptation. It was based off of very loosely, and we kind of knew that from the get-go. And I guess you could say the same thing for the Return to Silent Hill. It was a based on, not an adaptation. But if you're gonna change things, at least to make them fun or interesting. The FNAF movie changed a lot, but at least those changes were interesting or fun at the very least. You know what? Let me go to another video game adaptation. I'm gonna talk about the live-action Super Mario Bros. From... God, what year was it from? Hold on, give me 1 second. 1993. The live-action Super Mario Bros. Movies from 1993. God, I remember watching this when I was a kid. I mean, I wasn't alive back then, but my dad showed this to me. God, I'm old. Anyway, this movie obviously made a lot of changes to the Super Mario Bros. Continuity, or whatever you want to call it. But at least those changes were fun and interesting for a theatrical, you know, medium. For example, making Bowser a guy is kind of cool. He has this kind of mob boss feel, a la Godfather, you know. It really makes you believe that he does run this world. And also, the Goombas were changed a lot, but do I hate it? No. They kind of really again give off this vibe of these enforcers, these henchmen, which is what the Goombas are, but they're changed for a theatrical release. Again, there's probably a lot more changes in the live-action Super Mario Brothers movie that I have not admittedly watched since I was very young, but at least all the changes were fun or interesting. Everything that the Return to Silent Hill does to differentiate itself from Silent Hill 2 kinda just sucks. And that's its biggest problem. It makes changes, and they're not good. If I was in the writer's room, obviously I'd probably just one-to-one recreate it. But I understand that's not what some people want. People don't want to just watch the game on the big screen. Some people want, meaningful differences that make going to see it in theaters a, actual meaningful experience. There are changes sometimes that are good in a movie. And it's just... Look, I can't hate on the writers or the director too much. The director is the same guy who made the first Silent Hill movie, which, has its flaws, but is still very good. And this just feels like a far cry from that. And I can understand that it probably wasn't entirely his fault, especially when it comes to, existing brands that are being adapted into a movie release. There's going to be a lot of studio meddling. And I imagine that is probably what happened here. Biggest issue to me is that it's an hour and a half. I think even an extra half an hour would have done the movie it would have been a godsend, just to help develop a lot more ideas. You know what, while I'm here, I might as well just talk about how some of the things I change. I would remove the cult stuff entirely, but you've kind of already picked that up. I would make Angela, Laura, and Eddie real people. And then with that extra half an hour of runtime, you can just kind of do more stuff. Actually, I just thought of something, or I didn't think of something, I got reminded of something. My friend, after the movie, told me that the biggest draw of psychological horror is, not getting the full picture. And when you make James in this movie act like an insane person all the time, it doesn't really work. My friend said to me it was, I'm trying to see if I can quote him exactly here. It was... Good psychological horror will have the characters act logically within that moment, but then with context clues added later, that logical action will be thrown into speculation. In layman's terms, characters will do something that makes sense, and then maybe with some clues that we get later, or information that we get later, it will put that event into question. The Silent Hill 2, both the original and the remake, this sort of thing is plastered everywhere. But in Return to Silent Hill, when you make James act like an insane person, and he's constantly grabbing his head and going, I need a fucking... Does anyone have any ibuprofen? I got a headache. When you make James act like this the whole movie, it loses a lot of its charm, because you're not caught up in the what's real, what's fake, what's going on. It's just kind of all you, from the get-go, you're sort of like, oh, it's all in his head. And that's just really dull. Again, this is a very rambly video. Many of my videos are rambly. I didn't really have a script for this one either. I mean, I never have a script. I'm just kind of really pointing out the flaws in my writing here. I just wanted to talk about it, and talk about how, as much hate as the Return to Silent Hill gets, I don't think it is all entirely deserved. Again, this was not an adaptation. It was not advertised as an adaptation. It was based on. And I just really think they missed the mark a lot. There is clearly a lot of good people behind this project. The cinematography, the music, a lot of the costume design. God, I need to talk about the costume design. Especially the costume design with like Pyramid Head and stuff. It was all great. There's a lot of talent here, and I'm just so sad to see it miss the mark so heavily. Sadly, with how this movie was received and how the last Silent Hill movie was received, we're probably not going to get another Silent Hill movie. The internet is a very fun place. So because of how long this video took to get out, this information's outdated. The director has talked about making a potential sequel due to how well it was received, apparently. I still have my doubts if we're going to get another one, but I just wanted to correct myself here while I noticed it. Okay, bye. At least for a very, very long time, kind of like the gap between the second one and this one. It's unfortunate, but I think we just need to realize that Silent Hill cannot be adapted into a theatrical sense. There's too many ideas to be crammed within a 2-hour time limit. If you got one of those 3-hour length movies, you know, reserved for the Batman and really big franchises, maybe you could make something work. But I really just don't think Silent Hill can fit into the media film. And we were all really excited to maybe see it work out, but I just don't think it ever will. If they made a TV show, I think that would fit a lot better. You know, introducing new characters throughout episodes or changing details. Maybe like you can have things happen and then contradict them later. You know, like in Knives Out. Knives Out does it all the time. Throughout all 3 movies, they will replay numerous scenes multiple times with characters doing different things. And I know that's not psychological horror, but maybe that's what psychological horror should be, where it has you questioning things that you saw within the cinematography. And we know how good the cinematography here is. It's just, once again, a shame to see all of this talent just miss. And, God, I don't really know how to end this. I know we haven't had a lot of jokes in this one, but this has kind of just been an angry rant because I wanted better. I expected it to be maybe on par with the first Silent Hill movie, and it sadly even missed that mark. This was more on par with the second one. It was a massive disservice to fans. It really alienates anyone that's trying to come into the franchise for the first time as well. If you are at all interested with getting into Silent Hill, just play one of the games. Ideally one of the first 4. The latter 4 have their fans. I'm one of them. I do enjoy Downpour. Oh, please don't kill me. But I wanted better. And I think we as Silent Hill fans definitely deserved better. And that's sort of where I have to, I'm mellowing out. I've gotten a lot of the rage out of my system from peeking my mic earlier in this video. And I really just... nothing. It is a shame. It is a shame. That's the biggest problem. It was a shame to see this miss. And I really hope that in the future we can succeed with making some form of non-game release of the Silent Hill franchise, because I feel like it offers so much. And it was disappointing to be so just distraught in the theater after watching it. But I have faith in Konami. The recent projects have been really good. The Silent Hill 2 remake and Silent Hill F, which I have not played but I've heard great things about, have been fantastic. And it really shows that they're willing to take the franchise seriously, especially after basically going dead after the Homecoming. Was that the latest release before they tried to revive it? But whatever. Konami, I have faith in you. I know you can bring us good projects. So keep doing it. Maybe with a TV show. I'm sure Amazon Prime would do something good with it. HBO Max. I don't really know any other streaming platform. Netflix. I forget Netflix. Anyway, I've been Crispy, and thank you so much for watching. Hello everyone, it's Editing Crispy again. I just wanted to take this time to thank Subject Name here for these 3 beautiful renders of the Scout that I used in this video. He tangled with the source spaghetti so that I did not have to. I would also like to take this time to thank Funny Bunny, who did this animation for the video, and I'm really glad to have even a really small community who wants to do things like this and have their stuff put in the video. It really means a lot to me, and I'm really thankful, I guess. I understand some people won't even make it this far as a content creator, but even having that small little bit means a lot to me. So, yeah, thank you again. And tune in next time where I talk about something else, probably.